Hey, what is up guys? My name is Harrison Barron from Growth Generators. Now in this video, I'm going to be covering Kajabi SEO. So there is a lot of misinformation out there on Kajabi about what works, what doesn't work, and I'm going to teach you in this training everything that I use to rank my clients at my normal company, which is growth-generators.com, to rank them in positions 1 through 20. So you might be thinking, why would I want to show up on page 2 of Google? Well, spoiler alert, if you show up on page 2 of Google, chances of making it to page 1 are pretty good, and I'm going to teach you guys every little SEO trick I know in this training. Now, this training I have not recorded yet, but if I had to guess, before I jump into the recording, we're looking at somewhere in the vicinity of a half hour to about an hour long. I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know in Kajabi. I'm going to show you my Kajabi analytics and things like that. That way you can say, hey, this actually does work. There has been a ton of misinformation out there about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what could be risky. So this video is in an effort to make sure that you don't mess up your website. And if you do mess up your website, how to fix your website. So please bear with me, this is going to be very long. This should not be consumed in one sitting. If it is consumed in one sitting, I promise you, I shouldn't even say I promise, I know you're going to need to come back multiple times. There is so much information that is going to be covered in this video. This is literally everything we do to help our clients rank all the time in positions 1 through 10 on Google. So please bear with me, I'm covering literally everything. I'm going into as much detail as possible. Prefacing this video again, if I don't cover something in this video, please leave a comment down below. If you have a question, I would love to make more content to help you guys because I want to see all you Kajabians, and myself using Kajabi as well, succeed. There's a lot of information in here. I hope you guys bear with me. I'm super excited to dive into it. Let's go jump over my computer now, and I'll see you guys over there. Alrighty, so we are at my computer here, and in this video, like I said, I'm covering pretty much everything SEO related. So specifically what I want to cover here is Google Search Console. I will probably touch on Google Analytics. It's really not that important for SEO. Google Search Console is far more important for SEO. Google Search Console is really, really good for figuring out customer flow and where they're going on your website. Not so much SEO purposes, although it is nice to know where people are coming from to your website. Then we're going to cover some Kajabi SEO. I'm going to kind of show you guys everything that I know about Kajabi SEO, what I've seen or what I'm doing that works. And then also I'm going to talk to you guys about some keyword research and some backlinking. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready because this is going to be a lot of information. So right off the bat, I'm going to jump right into my website. Now, this is my website, harrisonbarron.com. This is one of the websites as my company Growth Generators is looking at. So you have basically everything, right? So if you go to harrisonbarron.com, and this is all going to be in real time, so if you want to mess around with this and keep up with this, by all means, you're welcome to as well. But essentially, this is my website, right? Nothing too crazy. Picture of me. I accidentally just broke it the other day, so that's why you have the picture of Kim there, and I got to change that out. But ultimately, right, those pictures don't particularly matter, although Kajabi did just allow you to put some meta tags on pictures. I know in the blog, I'm not sure if they're doing that on every page of Kajabi. Meta tags and meta descriptions on images help, but they really don't weigh in that much on SEO. I really haven't seen searches come through on pictures unless you have something really specific. That's really the only time that that's going to be happening. But ultimately, all the magic happens right here in the blog. So like I said, this is the new version of it. I just rebuilt the website because I accidentally broke it the other day. But the really cool part is this is what's going to help drive your SEO. And if you're curious to know, does this work? Trust me, it definitely works. This is my 6th month. I had a major issue last April, at the end of April, that was resolved. So it took a bit longer for my website to take off. Now, being that we do this for a living, and we happen to be really, really good at SEO, something to consider is a lot of this stuff takes 6 months to about a year to really work. So this is really only going to continue to grow. I have 200 and something blogs on my website. Specifically, I can tell you how many blogs I have on my website, 236 blogs, and they just keep coming, right? I have a writer who is constantly writing for me, And this is really everything that they're doing. This is helping drive traffic. I give them literally the exact same instructions that I'm going to show you guys, so that way you can start really ranking on Google. But if you want to drive a lot of traffic, this is ultimately how you do it. And it's a long game. Do not make changes and think you're going to see major results in 24 to 48 hours. Somebody specifically had mentioned, well, I just transferred my website over. There's a couple things that we need to talk about in that as well. But ultimately, every time you redo your website, you're going to see a major negative impact on websites. I can't show any of my customer stuff. That's pretty private data. However, every single time we've seen people roll out a new website, whether it's with us or somebody else, and we're just doing the SEO for them, there's usually a drop, and it takes typically a month to 3 months to really recuperate, to get to the level that they were at previously. So because I rolled out the new Kim format the other day, chances are pretty good I'm probably going to see a little bit of a drop over the next month, but it is something I really wanted to do. I really like the new layout for blogging. But what's really cool is you'll be able to see your clicks, your impressions, your average click-through rate, and I really don't particularly love average position unless you really want to get number one on every single page, which is super unlikely in your blog. Chances are pretty good you're never really going to break out of the 30s to 40s position. I've seen people touch the 20s for a short stint of time, but a vast majority of time, that is not the case. So just live with the average click-through rate, your clicks and total impressions. Now, if you're looking at your your click-throughs, and if you go to 3 months, this is really when you'll start to see it. If your click-throughs aren't matching your clicks, you're probably doing something wrong. There's a major issue with some of your metadata, and I'll cover what metadata is in a second. But this is something, if you're seeing either major spikes or it just doesn't look anything like your total click amount coming in, chances are pretty good there's a serious problem going on. Your impressions, as you get higher and higher, will begin to look more like your clicks as well. You know you have an issue on your hands when things are all out of whack and these lines don't really kind of look like each other. That's when things are really going awry. And now this is your Search Console. So in here, this is really what the most important thing is, in my opinion, and really what we see for a lot of other people as far as getting found online. So you have your clicks, you have your impressions, and your click-through rate right down here. And essentially what you really want to do is you want to look for, if you're ranking in the top 20, you really want to check that out. So I'm just going to double click this. We'll go down. I'm ranking currently for over 1,000 keywords, which is really cool. And essentially what I want to do is I want to find keywords that I'm not really ranking for. And when I say ranking for, I mean I'm not in the top 10 on Google. Top 10 is first page of Google. Anything more than that is the second and third page. So I have to bring it out to 100 here. And then you start to see 11.3, which means chances are pretty good I'm trending between 11 and 12 and things like that. So we have alignable versus LinkedIn. So what's really cool is I can go click that. It's going to show me what it is, right? So currently this page is trying to be indexed by Google, and that's why you see the average position being broken up. If you see this on one of your pages, Google's trying to figure out where you belong in the algorithm. So when somebody's searching it, it'll show your stuff based on what Google thinks is the best answer. So the cool part is I can see what page that goes to, and LinkedIn versus Alignable, what to know, an article I wrote. And the cool part is now is if we take this and we click specifically on this page but remove Alignable versus LinkedIn, because all my content is based around LinkedIn, Alignable, and now I'm starting to branch into podcasting as I have a pretty successful podcast, you'll be able to see queries. So this page, harrisonbarron.com/LinkedIn versus Alignable, right, is ranking for a bunch of different stuff. So here it is, right, LinkedIn versus Alignable, what you need to know, just kind of covers everything, right? And the key thing is, if you're looking to continuously get people on your newsletter, constantly give an opt-in. If you're not physically giving an opt-in as far as a checklist or a workbook or something like that, always just drop your code for the newsletter at the bottom. I can't tell you how many people sign up for my stuff, and just putting that on pages has tremendously helped the amount of subscribers we're getting. Even if each page drives 2 to 5 subscribers per month, think about that, right? If you have 10 pages, that's 50 new potential people that could be signing up on your email list. But the cool part is now we've kind of seen this page. right? And we can go down, we can look at the queries and see what it's ranking for. So currently this page is ranking for 20 different keywords. And what Google thinks where it belongs is numbers 5.4 for pros and cons of alignable, right? So if you guys want to test this, go grab those keywords and drop that in and see where it shows up. So it's going to show you IYBS. There I am. So I'm ranking number 2 right now on Google for that, which is pretty cool. Chances are pretty good. You don't have the Uber Suggest plugin or SEO Minion or related keywords or anything like that. That's a whole nother video I'll probably dive into. But essentially, I'm ranking number 2 currently when you're watching this video on 2/4/21 for position number 2, and it's gotten me 21 clicks, 168 impressions, and average position 2.9 currently, which is actually different than currently what you see, because this is the average of the last 3 months. Now, if I bring this out to, we'll say 7 days, right? There it is, 2.9. I mean, it's on the money right there. So that's pretty cool. In the last 7 days, this one page has generated 22 clicks to my website. And then if I pull it out to, if I pull it out to 3 months, you'll be able to see, hey, this really has gotten 124 clicks in 3 months, which is great. I have 200 pages. A lot of them are ranking. Even if we say that 10 of them are ranking, right? That's 1,000 clicks in the last 3 months, driven by some top 10 pages that I've produced. So you're probably wondering why and how is all this important? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you're ranking for the right keywords. If you're going through this whole thing and you're starting to see keywords that don't match up with the content that you're writing, you're doing something wrong. You need to go back and look at all the content you've written and see where you're leaving gaps. So either you're not going in depth enough, you're not putting in the right heading tags, you're not putting in the right meta descriptions, and all that kind of stuff. And that is what we're going to dive into right now. I'm going to skip Google Analytics. I really don't think it's that important for this, but these are, like I said, these are all the keywords that I'm ranking for currently, and this is something really you should keep an eye on if you're in positions 20 through 40, or better yet 20 through 30. You should go in and change the meta descriptions of these. Chances are pretty good if you're watching this video. I hope you know what meta descriptions are. If you don't, we're about to cover it right now. So I'm going to jump into my Kajabi website, and I'm going to show you guys the basic SEO stuff that you need to know just to get the ball rolling, and then we're going to go into specific details as far as, you know, your each individual page's SEO. So you're going to log in, you're going to go to settings. Inside settings, you're going to go to your site details. I don't love Kajabi in the fact that some of their SEO is a little strange, not particularly what we would normally do at my business, but because we build on a variety of different website builders, but it seems to get the job done. If you're curious to know where you're losing people, I highly recommend this app, AfterClick. Totally unrelated, but it just happens to work really, really well. And then ultimately, this is what Google is reading on a regular basis. So learn how to dominate sales with new modern techniques used by the pros. Are you curious to know how to close more deals, right? This is exactly what Google's reading, and I've made sure it's in the 150 to 160 characters long. Now, I will say that typically between 150 and about 165 to even 170 characters is a good sweet spot. If you're not ranking on Google, this is either not filled out at all. This has to be filled out, or Google's never going to show your website to anybody. So if there's anything that you take away, you need to have meta descriptions on all the pages you plan to show up on Google for. This is just the homepage. So go in, take care of this. I believe this is for all the pages in the website editor itself. Afterwards, creating blogs, this is tremendously important. So you want to make sure that you have a good description. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It has to just talk about you, what you're doing, and who you're looking to help. Don't get lost on, like, you know, wordsmithing this thing to, you know, the largest extent. Just make sure it's filled out, because if it's not filled out, Google reads it as like, hey, there's not enough information here. We're probably not going to send this out to people. So please, if there's anything that you do, take that away, put in a page description, 150 to 165. I do like that Kajabi does recommend 150 to 160. That is a really good number. The next thing you're going to start to go to is your settings, and this is where a lot of your content is going to thrive, and that's the blog settings. So once again, this is kind of the umbrella for the whole thing, right? I share my blog, sales and marketing experts, charge thousands of dollars to help you grow your business and digital presence online. So this is just mine. Could it use some tweaking? Probably, but honestly, I'm really not that worried about it because my blog, I don't really care if it shows up. What I really care about showing up is the more technical stuff as far as each individual page. So that's really it as far as Kajabi SEO. I haven't seen anything else inside Kajabi that is a game changer or anything like that. You have marketing settings, you have all these different settings, but ultimately these two are the most important out of anything that you do. Keep in mind also, if you're moving your blog or anything like that from another website to your website, even if it's the same name, if you moved pages and didn't keep the pages the same throughout your whole process. So when I say that, I mean your slugs. Your slugs have to be dialed in. If they're not dialed in, you're going to have so many problems, right? So if I go in here, I believe I hit customize, and you'll be able to see the actual slug on, nope, this is the editing of the page. Sorry, I am very good at SEO. I'm still learning Kajabi, and I feel like things just constantly get moved here. We'll go in here, and these are your slugs right here, harrisonbarron.com/course options. This is huge, right? This is a page that I'm kind of testing, used, haven't used, people are still stumbling upon it. If you migrate websites, please do not delete any of your old pages. Keep the slugs the same. The reason is because if you're driving traffic from another website to one of these pages, or somebody happens to link to it, you then destroyed a backlink, which could be helping you. And I'm going to explain what backlinks are too, but essentially you want to make sure that you keep all your slugs. If you just brought everything over, you're going to get hit with two things. One, if it's a different domain, Google's going to read it as non-canonical, which is not good. I can actually show you what that looks like. Because I actually rebranded my entire business to a company called Growth Generators. And in here, you'll see, as we're just starting to rank, because we just rolled out the whole thing, you'll see coverage, and then you're going to see vowed and then excluded. Duplicates submit URLs, right? And a lot of these are not labeled canonical. Duplicate submit URLs selected as canonical, right? This means that Google's reading it as it's not original content. And essentially what I have to do is I have to go back into the old website and basically say, hey, this is a 301 redirect where this content no longer exists on this website and we need to drive it back over. We're just basically putting a massive arrow from one website to the other, and all the URLs have to stay the exact same. So we might actually have to go back and adjust some of the URLs because Google sees it differently. So keep that in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff. If you're doing a major rebrand or you're removing pages that might have had traffic to it, you never want to remove it. You just want to hide it, because if somebody does stumble upon it, you want them to end up on your site instead of getting a 404 error where that page says page not found. And then not only does that not look good on Google's part for you, but then also that customer has or visitor has a really bad experience. So please, if you're ever doing that, make sure that you're pointing people in the right direction. It is so incredibly important. But as for Kajabi SEO, that is pretty much all that you can do. Now, this is where you can take your SEO and continuously go forward. So I'm not going to use this page specifically. I'm going to dive right into the blogs here. But this is where things can get a little confusing. But this is really where you're going to drive a lot of your traffic. Anybody that thinks your homepage is what's going to get all the traffic, you are sadly mistaken. It is extremely rare that your homepage gets all the traffic, unless it is a specific branded name. So if somebody's looking for me as Harrison Barron, right, that's going to come up first. But other than that, or if you have a unique name like Kajabi or something like that, that's the only time that you're going to drive that traffic, or Google's going to show that specific name. Otherwise, chances are pretty good you're driving your traffic from other places. So this is, once again, I can show you exactly what people are searching, right? Nobody's really searching my name. I could be somewhat famous, but if I have an active blog, this is probably going to be driving more traffic than anything. And you'll be able to see, right? Podcast advertising, everything you need to know, B2B marketing trends, getting your LinkedIn account in tip-top shape, right? Library. None of these are the base or the root domain of harrisonbarron.com. And I can almost guarantee that it's going to keep going, right? About me, podcast guests, what podcast to listen to. This is all content, right? It might be all the way at the bottom. There it is, right? So we're how many in, and finally harrisonbarron.com actually shows up. all my traffic doesn't actually come from the root domain and your home page. So please don't stress out about that. It may help for converting people for a sale, but as far as SEO and search engine optimization, especially with Kajabi, it really, really lacks. And that's not against Kajabi. That just happens to be how this whole thing works. But if I go in here, right, and I click customize, and now it brings me to the page editor, there really isn't, any kind of SEO that I can do on here, especially in these pages. A lot of times, the only SEO that you can do, and this is very important, is coming in here. I need to highlight all this, formatting it, and heading tags. And now I'm going to dive completely into the blog. That way it kind of breaks it down, everything that you guys need to know as far as headings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this is essentially probably the most important thing. Just think about it as heading 1, you should only have one of them. And it should be literally the most important thing on the page. Headings 2 is a breakdown of heading 1. Heading 3 is breakdowns of heading 2. Heading 4 is a breakdowns of headings 3s and 2s and so on and so forth, right? But you only want one heading tag. Anything more than that is a no-go, and you're going to look bad in front of Google here. So let me pull up my Kajabi stuff. Sorry, I don't like to show my numbers or subscribers if it does kick back to the other area. Nothing against you guys, just keeping it okay here. So blogs, and you're going to want to do this for your pages. You're going to want to do this for everything, but blogging is typically where most people are going to be building their digital presence and getting these links. So how to advertise more customers, how to advertise your blog and get more listeners, I should say. In here, we're going to just go into edit. And essentially, this is the layout of the whole thing. Now, my writers typically aren't the best at heading tags, so I'll have to go in and clean these up over time. But either way, it's not a bad thing. You need 3 things on this page to be really good. Number 1, you need a title that tells people what they're getting. So how to advertise your blog and get more listeners is the title of this page. Pretty simple, right? Title, you need to have a description. Once again, if you do not have a page description, you could literally be solving, you could be giving away the cure for cancer. Nobody's ever going to see it because the page description's not in there, and that means Google looks at it as an incomplete page. Tags are kind of important. They're not the most important. Google does look at your page tags to say, hey, what is this about and stuff like that. And then you have your image alt attribute. So for a little while, I think it was image alt text. Now it's image alt attribute, right? I got it from pexels.com. I'll probably end up going in and making my own custom one because I really do enjoy that. But I've been really focusing on my main business, growth-generators.com, shameless plug. But essentially, I want to go in here, right? So I want to get more listeners. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in formatting. And right, that is the most important thing out of this whole blog. How to advertise your blog and get more listeners. I think it's supposed to be podcast, but I might have to go reread this one. I actually haven't read this yet as we're doing this. Advertise on social media, right? So advertising on social media, if you think about it, is a subheading from get more listeners. This is something really, really important because you want to be able to look at what the main part of this is. So for this, it's going to be getting more listeners. And this is going to be advertising on social media. So we're going to do this. We're going to hit format, and we're going to do headings, heading 2, because advertising on social media helps promote getting more listeners. Right? So we have to definitely change the blog because I'm just reading it right now, and it is podcast. Although I have heard people interchange the words weirdly. Like they'll be like, oh, I have a blog, but it's a podcast, and I have a podcast that's a blog. Very strange. I've actually seen Kajabi people do that. So promoting a podcast on Google Adsense, right? That is another thing to look at. So you want to say, hey, you know what? Is promoting a podcast on Google Adsense a subheading of this whole thing? Could it be? Yes. For the purpose of this, I want to do a heading 3, right? Because I would consider, just for the sake of this, Google AdSense as being a subpart of social media, advertising on podcast listening apps, right? Another super important one. This is also supporting, the advertising on social media type thing. The only reason why you would want to add more than 2 or 3 H2 tags is because they are directly related to the main title, which is getting more listeners. I would even venture to say that this could be a little bit longer, right? So I don't know why. Yeah, that's Grammarly's not doing so hot. But advertising on podcast listening apps, podcast advertising on Spotify, podcast advertising in print magazines, Guerrilla Marketing, which is something that seems to be a big fan of a lot of people just because it's cheaper, sponsoring a blog, right? Getting those paid posts and things like that. So all of these are subheadings. So they did a pretty good job at least making these subheadings and bolded out. But essentially you want to have typically at least one H1, 2 or 3 H2s. If you have one H2, it's fine. Headings, 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 H3s. And so on and so forth. I've never really seen people get down to headings 5 and 6 unless they're massive pieces of content. And when I say massive, I'm talking 4,000-ish plus words. If you're writing a blog and you're really struggling on Google, chances are pretty good you don't have deep enough content. I won't let a single article come up here if it has less than about 750 to 1,000 words, depending on the article, not every article. But if you don't have that much content, chances are pretty good you are lagging so far behind, because it's not that your content's bad, but it can't go deep enough with less words. So something to keep in mind, if you're looking to do this, you definitely need to write at least 750 to 1,000 words minimum for any article. There's some great guys I follow out there. You guys can go check them out. There's Miles Beckler on YouTube. There's Income School, and then there's Neil Patel. They teach all digital marketing and SEO stuff as well. But this is the only one that I've seen as far as Kajabi specific. So advertising on social media, promoting a podcast on Google AdSense, right? So on and so forth. So we're going to shrink that down. Looks good, right? How to advertise your podcast and get more listeners. Normally I just approve them, but most of my writers have been pretty good with writing this. And spoiler alert, I don't write all my articles. I don't have enough time in a day to write all my articles. But a lot of the articles that I have written for me rank. So my writers have been taught pretty well, and I have a bunch of private videos that I cannot release because those are really my inside secrets. If you want access to them, leave a comment down below if you've made it this far, and we'll exchange information and I can send you those, but I can't make them public. It's just, it's what gives us our competitive advantage is the easiest way to put it. But essentially, you want to have tons and tons and tons of articles. Some of them may be good, some of them may be bad. So let's go back and let's look at what is ranking number one. And I kind of want to show you guys exactly what I did for it. So ranking number one, let's make sure it just has some impressions here. This is usually ranking number one. I don't know if it still is. Can I post inappropriate stuff on social media? Believe it or not, ranks really, really well. Inappropriate images on social media, posting inappropriate things on social media. Right, so now I'm position 2.5, which is pretty not normal, but every once in a while it does get kicked down from the top. So you have to stay up on these things, right? So Digital Citizen Academy.org, that's a .org. So .org's very difficult to compete with, right? Posting inappropriate things on social media. And your company job offers, any confidential, right? Just, it gives a little snippet of it. This is really where you want to be. I was up here for a very long time. But posting inappropriate things on social media, right? So this is an article that has now aged for a while, actually just over a year, posting inappropriate things on social media, right? You'll see the title. This is an H1 tag, right? You'll see this is an H2 tag. And the reason why I know this is because, one, I've gone through this article about 4 times already. And 2, I'll use my friendly SEO minion, definitely recommend the app, and analyze on-page SEO. So it's going to recognize both of these as H1 tags, which is probably messing it up. I don't love that Kajabi makes the title tag and the H1 tag. So when you're writing that, keep in mind, this is a new thing that Kajabi rolled out since the last time I've updated this. But if you go through posting, I'm hoping that gets it. My spelling is awful. I apologize, everyone. Posting inappropriate things on social media. Perfect. So published on January 27th at 9:04 p.m. And essentially what you want to do is go through this entire thing. So now they're considering that title tag as your H1, which is great because normally it's supposed to be, but that wasn't always the case. So I need to make this a paragraph in here. Headings, blogs, paragraph, perfect. And now that shrinks it down, right? So this one change will probably end up helping my page. So the first thing I want to do is submit it and save it, so that way Google will eventually look at it. But essentially, I want to go through, right, we have H2s, right, job offers and confidential information, posting plagiarizing material, posts involving drugs and alcohol use, right? These are H2s, directly supporting all of the H1 stuff. And the reason why these are H2s and not H3s and H4s and H5s is because I've tested this numerous times to get the best recipe for success. Pro tip: if you see a competitor ranking ahead of you and you download your SEO minion, you can count how many H2s and H3s and H4s they have, and you can then go in and make an article that looks just like their article. Something that's really, really important. But you want to essentially go through and make sure that your stuff is as good as possible. Open graph, right? You want to make sure you have an image. And you want to look at what other people are doing in that space. If you don't, chances are pretty good you are not going to be able to rank. And I'm going to dive into that in a minute. Once again, newsletter, right? Don't miss a beat, new moves, new motivation. I have to figure out how to get rid of that. That's new. That's because I use the Kim thing. That's why this is all blue. Purple and not blue. But essentially, that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to go through all of these different things and make sure that, hey, do I have an H1? Do I have an H2? Do I have an H3 if I need an H3? If you write an article without any of these things, you may rank, but the likelihood of you ranking is so low. You need to go in and use heading tags. They should be anywhere between I would say 20 to about 150 characters, depending on, the length of it and what you need to compete. I have some kind of top level SEO stuff, so if you wanted to, you can go check it out. SEMrush is a great one. We love using SEMrush. I cannot show you some of those. But essentially, you want to go in, you want to plug your information in here. This is going to pull up my projects again. I need to do... So if I do harrisonbarron.com, this is going to give me an overview, and you probably don't have the software. This is a paid premium software. I think the paid version started at about $100 per month. We use it quite a bit at my company, and essentially it's going to track it, right? So you'll see here, we really started ranking for things on August of 2020 because we did have a major issue at the end of April, right? So it took about a month for Google to say, like, hey, we should probably send some traffic and things like that. Now, your organic search traffic, this is typically never going to be right for anybody. This is how you spy on your competitors. Pro tip: you have your authority score. The higher this is, the higher likelihood you are to show up on Google. And then you have backlinks, 107 referring domains, referring back to me. So that is a trust flow essentially from one website to another website. So 107 potential other websites, or 48 specifically, have linked back to me for different words or different reasons, or they found my articles useful, or whatever that may be. This is just going to give you a bunch of information. If you're looking to go through some things, you can go through some things. You can do compare domains. You can do growth reports. This is not a shameless plug for SEMrush. It just happens to be the tool that we use. There's plenty of other competitors. There's Moz. There's Ahrefs. This is just what we use at our company. And typically, you actually want to use worldwide. US. Typically, most of your traffic is going to come from your local country. It's pretty rare, unless you're appealing to a tremendously large audience and you've just built tons and tons and tons of blogs. You may rank worldwide for a bunch of different things, but chances are pretty good that if you create content, you're ranking for your local country. Unless you're talking about world politics or anything like that, that's usually the only time that you're going to rank worldwide. Because my search results are going to vary tremendously from your search results based on your location, your search history. Literally, the list goes on and on of how Google kind of builds a portfolio of what you're doing, right? But just because I search, what content to post on LinkedIn, right? Just because I post this, right, you might see something totally different. So 10 LinkedIn post ideas you should be doing right now, right? And do I rank for this? I don't think I have an article for this right now. And there's a lot of really heavy hitters in here. There's Buffer.com, which is a social media app. There's LinkedIn, creative copywriting, right? So if I wanted to rank for this, would I? Probably not, because there's a lot of heavy hitters in here. But that's part of keyword research, which we're going to dive into in about 2 more minutes. I just want to cover a couple more things with Kajabi. You want to make clickable content. You want to make linkable content. So the best information is going to get linked to. So if you could put together data from one thing to another, or put together custom graphs, or you do your own research on what works versus what doesn't work, that is what's going to thrive online. If you just take somebody else's piece of content, so what content to post on LinkedIn, if I just took this outboundengine.com and rewrote this whole article in my own opinion and own words, would it rank? I don't think so, right? But things to keep track of: how many pictures are on the page, right? How many heading tags? So if I pull up my little friend, my SEO minion up here, I'll be able to go through and search. So this article is 2,600 words. That's a lot of words for me to compete with. There's the title, right? There's headings. So they have 2 H1 tags. They have H2s, show headings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my God, they have like 10 to 12 H2 tags. And then they have H3 tags, H4 tags, H5 tags. This is a huge article, and this is why they have so many of them, right? These are all subheadings of the main article. 10 LinkedIn post ideas you should be doing right now. Each one is a LinkedIn post, right? So it's an H2, and then this content in here is supporting it, right? What this accomplishes is probably an H3 tag, maybe? I would be willing to bet that. H3. All right, I don't see it. I'm actually shocked I don't see it here. But you'll see, like, anytime you see some pretty bold text or things like that, that is going to be typically another H tag supporting that next article idea or that topic idea. The other thing you want to look for is where they're linking to. So speaking of SlideShare, this is linking out to somebody else. So this website might have more domain authority, kind of like what you just saw in SEMrush, where it says that authority score. They might have more domain authority. If you link out to really powerful websites, Google typically looks at it and says, oh, they're linking out to trusted sources that we already know. Chances are pretty good they're probably trusted too. I talk about this because if you're getting links from really shady places, so somebody specifically had mentioned Fiverr. I love Fiverr and I love Upwork, but if you don't know what you're getting and you're getting these links by the buckets and boatloads, chances are pretty good you're getting really bad links, and Google looks at that as a really, really negative thing. So you want to avoid that at absolutely all costs. Do not, under any circumstances, go buy links from either somebody you don't trust or deals that look too good to be true. I want to pull that up really quick because this is so important. I know this was a little off to the side before we get into keyword research, but I cannot stress how important this really is. If I do backlinks and I search in here for backlinks, right, I will get 5 high TF permanent homepage SEO backlinks. Are they real? I don't think so. For $15 a piece, PBNs, please, I hope you've made it this far, please, please, please do not get involved in PBNs. They can literally destroy your website. It is an old website link that has been not used. Somebody fires up a new website on it. There's people selling these links out there, or somebody had bought another website and it just becomes kind of spammy. Backlinks, HOHE, okay, so he's probably in another language, right? Domain authority, DA, 60 plus, $25. Are they legit? They could be. Fiverr's choice. This is probably realistic. I will build the ultimate high DA white hat do follow SEO backlinks, right? So what do you get in that? This is probably a service that's pretty good. Texture, tired backlinks, 3,000 plus blend. 3,000 for $500 is still pretty cheap, almost to the point of sketchy. I would be really concerned if people are buying these. If Google sees that you're getting a lot of these at one time, and Google sees that they're from spammy websites or websites that aren't maintained and things like that, you're going to hurt yourself. There are some people on Upwork, and you're typically looking at about $40 to $80 an hour, sometimes maybe about $30 an hour for somebody to go help you get backlinks. And they are literally going to do the grunt work. They're going to go find other people in different areas and say, hey, can we either buy a link, or can you link out, or we made linkable content, right, in Kajabi that says like, hey, this might be something worth linking to. You have to be really, really careful with backlinks. They can hurt you really, really badly. And if one of those websites gets flagged by Google as a really bad or dangerous website, that could tank your website in literally minutes. So please, if there's another thing, if there's 2 things that you get out of this, please do your meta tags and don't buy spam that's too good to be true. There's a great website, Authority Builders. I happen to really like these guys. I'm not going to show you guys pricing on any of this stuff, but each link typically costs about $100 to $500. They're really good links. They link back to you. It's kind of a white hat service where they take care of it for you. They don't even show you the links, actually, of who would even be willing to link to you if you go in and do this, because they want to make sure, one, keep the privacy. It helps keep things private, right? You see your prices right here, $335, $200. They break it down. Highly recommend Authority Builders. I use them every once in a while, B2B customers and our own stuff. But they have art, blogging, fashion, entertainment, music, gambling. I mean, the list of categories goes on and on. This is not a tutorial for this, but these are good backlinks. These are links that you can actually trust. It tells you your domain authority, your trust flow, citation flow. You have your referring domains. How many referring domains are there? Domain rating, right? And monthly traffic. So this is for the last 30 days. It has 5,000, 7,000, 4,000 clicks. Whatever that may be, feel free if you're going to go buy them, but please do not buy them from sketchy areas. I mean, you're looking at these prices. These are 100-ish. You can ask somebody, if you find somebody in a similar field or something like that, you can ask them if you could buy one. But you're looking probably at spending between $15 all the way up to several $100, depending on who it is. Every once in a while, somebody gets access to Forbes magazine and will say, like, hey, I can get you a link on Forbes, or hey, we can write a guest post article on here, and that article will show up. Forbes has a really high domain authority, domain score, and things like that. If you can get a link from here, it's great. They charge $1,300 to about $1,500 for a link or a guest post article. Guest posting is allowed. Buying backlinks is not allowed, but if you make it enticing for people to want to link to your stuff, that is totally allowed. So if Authority Builders actually writes content, they don't just sell you a link to your website. They actually legitimately put out a whole new post for you, written by you, or a link back to your stuff. That is how it is allowed. But that's how they're doing it. So you want to make sure that you have your meta descriptions done. This is your meta description right here. This is what actually shows up on Google when you search for whatever these keywords are that are showing up. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys before we wrap this whole thing up, because this has been tremendously long, is keyword research. Now, this is a free tool, Ubersuggest. I do recommend it. There is a paid version. I think it's like $30 a month or $300 one time. And you can go in here. So if I'm writing about LinkedIn, right, I'm gonna type in LinkedIn, and it's gonna give me a list of keywords. Now, this is the 7-day free trial. If you want to join in, I've already paid for his stuff back in the day. Now we use SEMrush. I'm not gonna show you on SEMrush just because it's not everybody's willing to pay $100 per month. But essentially, if you see a SD or SEO difficulty score that's in yellow or red, it's not worth investing your time in, right? I'm not going to compete with the word LinkedIn, LinkedIn Learning, LinkedIn Login, LinkedIn Jobs, right? But if I have a really good high-res image of the LinkedIn logo, right, that might be something that I could probably rank for. Now you might be thinking, why would you want to do that, right? Well, this is just giving you keyword ideas. LinkedIn for recruiters, LinkedIn Campaign Manager, LinkedIn Cancel Premium. So this is really good. So if you wanted to cancel a LinkedIn Premium account, writing an article on how to cancel the LinkedIn Premium account is a phenomenal article to write. They guess that it's getting about 8,100 searches per month, right? They think that somebody's willing to pay $2.23, right? You have a pay difficulty of 1, which means it's on the lower part of the scale, less competition, and then you have a SEO difficulty of 16, which means if I write this article in 6 months to 1 year, chances are pretty good that I have enough page authority where Google knows that I'm a trusted source for LinkedIn information that I could probably rank for this information, right? LinkedIn Elevate, LinkedIn App, and then it goes into, this is the paid stuff that they block off if you do the 7-day free trial, but most of the time, this is good enough to get you at least a couple articles in. You have your related searches, right? What are some related searches? LinkedIn Sign-In, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. What is LinkedIn? LinkedIn Careers, LinkedIn Icon, right? These are just bunches and bunches of information that you can go through and say, hey, what's good, what's not good. Questions, what is LinkedIn used for? LinkedIn, who viewed my profile? So you could write an article, how to find out who viewed your profile on LinkedIn, right? This is an article that I probably will now write. Are LinkedIn messages private? How many LinkedIn users? So it's giving you a fraction of that. You have to obviously complete it. Why LinkedIn is important, right? These are all really good articles. I'm actually going to not change the screen because I would like to write some articles on these things. Prepositions, comparisons, LinkedIn versus Indeed. How weird. I have a blog about that. LinkedIn versus Facebook. I believe I actually have a blog about that too. I don't have LinkedIn versus Salesforce, but I also have LinkedIn versus Alignable, which is one of their competitors, right? And I do an in-depth analysis of both platforms. But that is essentially what you're going to do. You're going to look for keywords. You're going to go through. You're going to find the keywords. And I'm going to show you guys some cheat code kind of stuff because if you've made it this far, you deserve the cheat codes. So what is LinkedIn used for, right? So I'm just going to search this. We're going to open up a new tab. What is LinkedIn used for, right? LinkedIn.com. What is LinkedIn used for? So I don't want to use a article on LinkedIn just because it's going to be pretty hard to beat or get good information from. But what is LinkedIn? A beginner's guide, right? Here it is. Here's the full-blown article, right? Now I'm going to go to my SEO minion, and I know this is number 2. So if I wrote number 2 in Google, so if I wrote an article, I would want it to be somewhere near this. So this is 1,800 words, right? They have a bunch of headings, right? I probably want to keep a similar amount of headings. I probably want to keep a similar amount of images on here and things like that. What you could do is you can take these, you can go through each and every single one of those LinkedIn searches, grab this information, how many words you would need to write, right? Well, you can't see an Excel sheet if I open it. But if that's 1,800 words, right? We'll go back to the last search here. Whoops. We'll open up a couple more of these, and I'll show you how you can start ranking against your competitors. Because this is literally what we do for our customers on a regular basis. This is 1,900 words. This is 1,600 words, right? So it almost looks like, and this is usually not the case all the time, but okay, so 3,300 words, right? So just because it has more words doesn't mean it's going to rank higher on Google. You have to go back, and you also have to look at when this was published. If it has a published date, go find it, because if it's really, really old, chances are pretty good you could probably rank above it. So these are people's comments and things like that, ratings. I mean, the fact that somebody rated it in 2019, they could be going back and updating this recently. It doesn't always say that. But essentially, this is what you want to do. You want to go through, look at your competitors and all that kind of stuff. Finally, the last thing, after you've created content and all that kind of good stuff, the last thing you're going to want to do, and you have to have all your meta descriptions and things like that. I'm assuming everybody that's watching this has already set up their Google Search Console, but make sure you submit your sitemaps. It is so important. It is your domain.com/sitemap.xml. Google literally, Kajabi gives you this. Go to it. This is what it should look like. It's going to look like a bunch of code, right? And you're going to make sure that all of your content's in here, which it should be if you're using Kajabi. You're going to copy that in. You're going to go back to your sitemap, and you're going to submit your sitemap. This is so critically important for you to do. This basically lets Google know, hey, you're on Google Search Console. You should be being searched by other people and things like that. So this is all stuff that you need to do on a regular basis to help you grow online. You need to submit this. You don't need to do it all the time. Submit it once every couple months. As long as Google Search Console has it, every time you hit save on Kajabi with whatever you're doing, it will automatically update it and save it in there. So you don't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. I hope this video helps. This is pretty in-depth. I don't want to go too crazy on this, but I'll see you guys in the next part. If you guys have questions, like I said, please leave them down in the comments down below. But I'll see you guys in the next part of the video right now. All right, that was a ton of information. I really hope you guys found tremendous value in this. If you guys learned something, please leave a comment down below. If you guys enjoyed this, hit a like button. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below with your questions so I can make more content for you guys to consume. I really did my best to go into all the aspects of this. If I did miss something, please check back, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the little notification bell so you never miss another opportunity to grow your website. But that's where I'm gonna make more content for you to crush it on Kajabi. I'll see you guys later. Thank you, bye.